Okay, so we are going to be presenting to you second wave. Can we like make it so it's not second wave feminism?
Does feminist mean large, unpleasant person who'll shout at you, or someone who believes women are human beings? To me, it's the latter, so I said that. That's my marker app. Okay, so defining feminism. So according to the dictionary, feminism is the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. And feminism can also be defined as organized activities in support of women's rights and interests. So all three waves of feminism. So first wave feminism. Okay. It's a period of feminist activity that took place in the 19th and early 20th century. And this wave occurred particularly in Canada, the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and the United States. It focused mainly on legal issues, primarily on women gaining the right to vote.
Slower?
Yeah, slightly. I'm just trying to write like a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
It's not recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not. It's kind of general.
All right.
You should know this. Write this one now.
Okay. Second wave feminism. This wave took place in the early 1960s in the U.S. and eventually spread throughout the Western world. The movement lasted until the early 1980s in the U.S. Several issues such as sexuality, workplace, and reproductive rights were subject of debate. Also, the position of second-wave feminists about women in pornography, sex work, and prostitution were explored and expressed publicly.
One second.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Third wave feminism, so it's a period of feminist activity that began in the early 1990s and continuing to the present day. The movement arose partially as a response to the failures of the second waves of feminism. And third wave feminists believe there needed to be further changes in stereotypes, media portrayals, and language to define women. So here are a couple of celebrities that are feminists. So there's Angelina Jolie, Beyonce, and
Beautiful.
yeah, and Emma Watson. Sorry.
Hermione. Okay, so we've just presented you the three waves of feminism, but we are going to be concentrating on the second wave of feminism because that is the one that is relevant in the book. So here are a few characteristics and goals of the second wave, second wave feminism. So it's characterized by changing private injustices. So that includes discriminatory laws and policies, sexuality, sexual identity, marriage and child rearing, workplace environment, reproductive rights, and violence against women. Their goals were to form local, state, and federal government groups on behalf of women to create new, more fully human and positive images of women in pop culture and the media to fight all the negative images, and also to create their own pop culture, including music, art, writing, and film. So now we're going to discuss we'll briefly go over a few landmark moments of the second wave. So we see that there was the FDA that approved the oral contraceptive pill for women, Equal Pay Act, the Lutheran Church allowed women to be ordained. There was the first women's study program in the U.S. at San Diego State in 1972. The passage of Title IX ensuring the equal funding for women's opportunities in education, so like scholarships and sports teams. Also, there was the Roe versus Wade case. So that's the case ensuring women's access to safe and legal abortion, military academies that admitted women, Pregnancy Discrimination Act, etc.
Even within the feminist movement, there were conflicts between feminists. Some feminists believed that pornography was negative and it was harmful to women, while others, the more sex-positive feminists, believed it was a positive thing and it should be celebrated. So the pro-pornography feminists believed that sex work should be regulated and it should be part of the economy, and it wasn't automatically degrading to women if they did work in that industry, whereas the anti-pornography feminists believed that it was a way for males to dominate women in a different way, and it was just a vehicle for violence against women. And it just it shows that even within the feminist movement, there wasn't one direct ideology that everyone followed. There were parts that people disagreed on. And then the second wave of feminism in relation to the book. So second wave feminism was heavily rooted in a woman's right to choose and to control her own sexuality, while also having a worth that's independent of her body. In brief, a second wave feminist simply wanted to control of her body. For example, Roe versus Wade, she wanted the ability to choose. And she wanted to be seen as something more than just a vehicle for childbirth. And in The Handmaid's Tale, Atwood shows us the extreme opposite. Women are defined by their fertility, and they possess zero control over their body. And a quote that shows this is, "I avoid looking down at my body. I don't want to look at something that determines me so completely."
Okay, so in direct contrast with the previous quote, when Offred shares her feelings about her oppression, Atwood shows us the feminist extreme through flashbacks of Offred's mother. She shows us this caricature and the stereotype of man-hating feminists who participate in the anti-pornography movement and pro-abortion rallies, who openly prefer to raise a daughter alone without the companionship of a man. So this is the quote that shows it. "The woman handed me one of the magazines. It had a pretty woman on it with no clothes on, hanging from the ceiling by a chain wound around her hands. Threw the magazine into the flames, parts of women's bodies turning the black ash in the air before my eyes, turning to black ash."
Further, Atwood presents Gilead's resentment and disdain of feminist values throughout the book. It starts out slow at the Rachel and Leah Center when she's in the gym and she's looking at the co-ed change rooms, locker rooms, and they said that they're reverted back to the way they were. But then it starts to pick up speed as women lose their jobs and then they're forced to stay at home. And then lesbians who go against the conservative view of sexuality of Gilead, they're marked as gender traitors. And also in the Rachel and Leah Center, handmaids are continuously taught, and this is jammed into their heads, that feminism is bad and it's negative, and that they don't have freedom. So this is shown in the quote when Janine is being blamed for her own rape as a teenager. They're saying her fault, her fault, her fault every chance Janine sends. So it is always the woman's fault. It's against pro-women and women being strong, powerful, and being able to take charge, and it's degrading them and saying that you no longer, like, you are not in charge of your own body. It's men that are better than you. And yeah, women are at fault and they lose their power. So we prepared
So Gilead is often analyzed as being a patriarchal society where women possess few to no rights, no freedom, and where they're kept for one exclusive purpose, which is childbirth. However, throughout the book, the handmaids and other women are told that they are important and that they're fundamental to society, and that they are, in fact, being treated as such. This is especially clear when Aunt Lydia tells the handmaids that there is more than one kind of freedom, freedom to and freedom from. In the days of anarchy, it was freedom to, now you're being given freedom from, don't underrate it. So from there, our question is, Gilead believes itself to be a feminist society. It's giving women this freedom from, and our question is this hypocritical? Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's hypocritical saying that they're giving them freedom, when in reality, they're actually taking away all the freedom they had beforehand. So like they lose every right that they used to have in the old society. So obviously it's hypocritical to claim that they're now free. That's the opposite.
By giving them freedom, they're still subordinate to the men who give it, and they can easily just take it back as soon as they want it. So having to be given the freedom isn't freedom.
Yeah. Michael?
But in this case, again, it all comes back to religion, because the way they viewed it, they viewed their life, it wasn't their value, that's not how they saw it. It's like paying it back. Like, you brought it back to old times where women did not have these rights and they had to follow the rules and stuff.
But, exactly, but are those women still free?
That's why it's hypocritical.
Yeah, okay, I thought you were going. Johan?
I'd say that when you link it to today's society, it's very hypocritical, but if you're only looking at Gilead, and if we were all living Gilead right now, would we think as if, like, we think, yes, it's unfair, things like that, but would we say it's hypocritical? Because it all depends, because we're looking at it from our point of view to this society. So, I don't know.
I have a question.
Hi.
No, I have a question about the book.
Okay.
Isn't like offered the first wave of mandates? Like
Yeah.
it just started basically?
Yeah, 3 years in or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like what Noah was trying to say, like, obviously when we look at it like nowadays, it's like hypocritical, but like if you look back at the Bible and how like Gilead is for, when they say they get like they're like going like believe like it's not good for any society, it's like the way they see, the way they like obviously we see it as law, but like for them that's what they think is a feminist society, and that's in their eyes, which is wrong, but that's how like they see it. That's why they would say it's a feminist society, but
The way I think we saw it is it's very hypocritical because they're saying that they're almost in a way raising women on a pedestal. They're saying that you and your, well, mostly their bodies are sacred, but in that they're saying that women are sacred and they should be protected and they shouldn't have to work so much. Therefore, we're divvying up the tasks and having Marthas and handmaids and wives like that. You don't have to do all that yourself. But for example, during the particution, where they're beating someone to death, is it particution? Particution. When they're beating someone to death for supposedly raping someone, because they say that that's an awful crime and that they would never let that happen. But the women, the handmaids, are they're basically raped and violated every single month to go with their rules. So it's very hypocritical because they're saying that they're raising women when really they degrade them every single month.
Sure. I like that. But
Laura?
I think they believe that they are feminists because of the importance that they put on the women and their fertility. And usually when we think about feminism, we think about putting importance to women. But like considering the events of the book, we know that that is not true because of so much oppression that they give to them.
I like.
Alex?
Is it really rape though? If like, I mean, given their society, like not our society right now.
Ours to theirs.
Like judging by their society, are they being raped by them?
Well, they don't consider it rape because it's their job.
No, it's a valid question.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
No, it's right. If we are here, I decide when they
yeah, like if we lived in their society, that's just
Guys, let me talk.
I mean,
Okay, but that was just 3 years-ish. You just said it was the first wave of campaigns. So 3 years of change just occurred.
there's not a person in society that knows
Like-
a different life.
Yeah.
They all remember.
They all remember what had. It was just 3 years ago, right?
There's a valid question. I understand.
What they were in. She wasn't used to the society, but that's how that's their way of going.
They don't consider it rape because
It
it's
was
their job.
imposed on them.
it's more of like a job that's really like bad. You know, it's not. I mean,
It's true, like, they don't consider it rape because
Yes, you're right.
they force them into, accepting this as their duty.
It's just
Yeah.
their situation.
I had a question about the guy who got killed because he raped. How much did the girls who got raped?
They were mad at
I
him
don't
because
Well,
she was
according
fertile.
to that situation, the woman that he raped was pregnant and she lost the baby.
Oh my God.
Remember that?
That
Yeah, it was like-
That just kind of amplify
The rage.
their rage directed
It added
towards
to
you.
the sent off the
The women.
We don't know.
What if
It
you
wasn't-
had, what if you had a kid?
No, but.
We don't know.
They probably keep it.
True.
Wasn't he an
Karen had her hand up, and then it's.
He was a guardian.
Guardian.
Read.
Go.
Well, obviously it's hypocritical because also, like, as much as they take the Old Testament seriously, they only read sections of it.
Yes.
He was a guardian.
Yes, that's a good point.
Like, if you're really gonna listen about that,
Then you believe the whole thing wholeheartedly and don't keep it up locked and only reading certain portions, right? Or what? Good point.
Oh, okay. I was like, what I feel like Alex was trying to say, like, it's just like, obviously we see like when we look at it, it's like rape and everything, but if you put yourself, I understand it's only 3 years in, but you're talking about the system of Gilead, whether it's 3 years in or like if it's a longer period, it's just the way they see it, it's more as a job, like their duty.
The way the men see it?
Yeah.
No, the way the population
No, the way the society as a whole.
the way the society is supposed to see it.
Michael was speaking.
The way like, yeah, the way
The way the
they're-
women are supposed to eventually see it, the way the men see it.
it's not seen as
But I'm looking at you can't
And
not.
then it's just seen.
Where she said that nor does rape cover it, nothing is going on here that I haven't signed up for.
Oh.
Because it was imposed upon her.
Yeah,
No, but she's
Michael's a feminist.
Yeah.
No,
She,
I'm not.
did she really
That's Stockholm
sign
syndrome
up
all
for
the way.
this?
Yes, she did.
What about Edward syndrome? Please don't need this shit.
Biology class.
Okay, let him finish.
There wasn't a lot of choice, but there was some, and this is what I chose.
Exactly.
Pancreatic
Oh my
cancer.
god.
Guys, hands up. Justine, Amber, Todd.
Okay, in this society, right now, if a girl is with a guy and a guy pressures her and makes her feel really uncomfortable and
She doesn't want to have
she
sex.
doesn't want to, but like she kind of says it's okay, but
Then
the
she's
pressure
dumb.
her, it's rape.
It's indecent.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
Look
not.
up the law. It's rape. It is rape. I beg your pardon.
Guys, it's only rape if he uses physical force or he drugs her.
No. What?
Drugs her back.
Rape is consent.
Look up the law.
Guys, he's in jail.
Calm down. Now, Amber, guys.
They view your values.
There are choices. There weren't many choices, which make it less free and makes it a bit hypocritical. But you can't take everything to an extreme. Everything is
we're not
by
talking
degree.
about now.
This
We're
society.
talking about laws, and we're talking about real,
I think there's gonna be a
like,
participation here.
today laws.
All right.
Okay?
Can we go back to when I raised my hand? When I really had something.
Very dangerous for you to go out there and think that rape only occurs if there's physical force. If the girl does not
I understand that.
openly consent for the guy, if there is no, but anyway, it's the open consent to that act. It is considered.
But that's not what Justine said.
No.
She said, she was like, oh, okay. That
No,
she said,
no.
If the girl says, oh, okay.
No, no, no. Like, let's just say the
Isn't
girl
that
says, oh,
Justine?
okay, and then they go back into the room, and then she realizes, yeah, this is not what I want.
Then she can leave, and no one's pressuring her.
She
can't. Okay, that's
It's
different.
done.
Now we're talking about the
It's
present.
Okay?
But what she said,
I just want to make that clear because,
But
like,
you
if
said
you go
no,
out
no.
there and think that.
No, don't worry. We're not gonna rape anybody.
if at any point, obviously, but she said, if she's not too sure and then she says yes,
No,
the guy can take that as her thing, second guessing, and
the
then
thing
finally agreeing.
is, but then I'm just saying the law becomes quite fuzzy, okay? If the girl does not openly consent, and that's why for guys it's very important that you hear the yes.
Yeah, and that, oh, okay, is a yes.
Because if you don't hear the yes,
It's not a good yes. I wouldn't want that yes, but it's a yes. You can't put a guy in prison for 2 years because he said, oh, okay.
Can we go
Rules need to be everything.
No, man, I did not have my time of speech, which I raised my hand for.
Take another example.
Let Diego define rape, guys.
someone wants to buy
Merriam-Webster.
Let him talk,
Let him
bro.
finish.
someone wants to buy and the person says no. You will still see in everywhere in society, people will still argue and try to push you.
Yes.
So like, if you take that same situation and bring it back, I think what I would like, I'm not okay with that. I'm okay. I said it's so bad. What I'm trying to say is that the girl always has the option to say no as long as the guy doesn't physically take her like.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that shows the girl
Oh my God.
has a chance
Yes.
to always say like that one. She says yes, even though she said no 100 times. At some point she says yes, and it's like the guy's just waiting for that basically. It's like when you want to buy something, someone says no the whole time, and after you're like, okay, just take it at this price. You're gonna take it at this price.
What?
Okay.
I don't think you should use that.
I did not say anything. You guys all yelled at me like let me defend myself. I got yelled.
Merriam-Webster defines rape as an unlawful sexual activity, and USU. Sexual intercourse carried out forcibly or under threat of injury against the will, USU. Of a female or with a person who is beneath a certain age or incapable of valid consent.
Okay.
Wow.
Valid.
Okay, now yes, valid consent. Don't you think? Don't you think?
Michael.
Thank you.
No.
Est annulé. Merci de L'équipe junior garçon 9 équipes est annulé pour aujourd'hui. Et rapportez vos chaussures demain pour le tournoi. Merci, bonne
Madam, I never said a word, and you guys all interrupted me.
Michael, talk.
Let's say you're, like an example, let's say you're at a party and you meet this girl and you guys have like a certain amount of alcohol in your body and she consents, you can get her to sign that she said yes, you get her to film, she said
Based on a
yes.
true story.
The next day, let's say you find out she gets pregnant, she can call rape on you because she wasn't sober.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing.
No, that's a thing. No, man, you can't.
Yeah, it's just
Madam, this is what I want to say.
That's my first thing. And then second thing, hold on. We are comparing this to our society today. You can't compare it to their society because those are the rules.
That's what
Okay, but I understand those are the rules, and that's society, okay? But I know what I know the whole purpose of this is that's their society, that's their society.
It's like fighting over religion.
I'm just trying, like, the reason we should all realize.
You ever call me rapist? I can defend myself.
Getting upset about the things that happen in this
Think
book
before you talk, Amber.
is because
Before you think, Chloe.
it is a reality as well. Like, that's why you guys are getting upset. Because yes, that is Gilead, but it is our society as well. It might not be called Gilead, but there are representations of that society in ours. And that's why we are so, we are quite offended and we are quite disturbed by certain things that are said. Okay? Yes.
Rawad, raise your hand.
10% of women that like were men in life say that this is and 10% of men said we always like I know in the law, like Michael said, like that same thing like research in the alcohol situation. With a man, he can't pursue these. It's like also there's injustice and like that for.
I'm not saying, yeah.
No. Yes, please. Thank you.
Ever. Then just say.
All right. What I want to say is, as long as even a slave has a certain degree of choice, all right. Everybody has a certain degree of choice. Now that choice is always limited, and it could be very open and very open, and could be limited to death or slavery. Now what I want to talk about is we're mentioning. No, everybody, please.
It's not important.
You can't